So I made a couple of videos earlier and I failed to press start. I was so upset about that because I just went on and on and on. Yeah. But I just got on here right now because I had some stuff on my mind that was really bothering me. So I guess I just wanted to vent or rant. Uh, well, I guess earlier I had talked to my mother on the phone. And my mom, she upsets me because, well, for a lot of reasons, but she upsets me because she won't tell me when things are going on. Like, example, when she had something wrong with her kidney, she was had some kidney failure, and because she was on a bunch of antibiotics, so she says for her gallbladder was really infected, and I knew something sounded weird, and she sounded weird because she's really not that good at hiding things from me. And I heard someone talking in the background. It sounded like she was in a hospital, and she was. And then she lied to me why she was in there. You know, why would you do that? You know, she lied to me about having COVID and being in the hospital. That one really, really bothered me because she really almost died. And, you know, it's like she is the only family that I have, the blood family. And so what would it be? I'm sitting here thinking everything's fine, you know, and I get a phone call out of the blue, your mom's dead. You know, you didn't even like let me prepare myself. Or what if you let me leave things between us in some bad way, you know, and then you're gonna put me through all this guilt, you know? When my grandmother passed away, my grandmother had moved to Ohio, and it was the first time since the day I was born and brought home from the hospital that I was away from my grandmother, to the point where, I mean, I've moved away and stuff, but well, to be totally honest, I had just started using drugs too, and my grandmother had moved away, and I was living in her house because she'd given me her house, you know, and I used to talk to my grandmother, since, like I said, since basically, unbelievable as it sounds, but since I was born, I have spoken to my grandmother. I spoke to my grandmother every single day of my life, whether it was in person or on the phone. I spoke to my grandmother every day up until I got strung out on drugs for the first time, and being ashamed and all that stuff, you know, that comes with that. I hadn't spoke to my grandmother in close to 3 months, and I knew that she had had cancer, bone marrow cancer, they said, but I knew also that she was in remission, and I had spoken to her since she had been in remission. Well, my mother fails to tell me that she had went out of remission and was in the hospital. Not until she came knocking at my door and told me that grandmother was in the hospital, wasn't going to make it through the night in Ohio. And at that point, you know, she died that night, and you know, that's hours away from me being in Michigan. But had I known before it got that bad, you know, that I could have saw her again, I could have at least called her on the phone and talked to her. And I mean, when she died, it left me with tremendous freaking guilt, like serious guilt, you know, of, you know, not speaking to her for those months, you know, and not going to see her or anything. And I was so upset and angry about that. Why wouldn't you tell me? You know, I lived for years with horrible guilt that affected my life and me. and how I felt, you know. Yeah, I used to not be able to talk about that at all. You know, I had a hard time, you know, and just how close my grandmother and I were, you know, and for her not to tell me when something was going on with my grandmother. Yeah, you know, I should have been on drugs, and I should have been in contact with her, but, you know, I wasn't. I was on drugs, and I wasn't, and, you know, I do believe my mother should have told me that my grandmother was in the hospital. At least that. You know, at that point, my grandmother was unconscious, and I couldn't even call her. And the really weird thing about that whole thing was, it was Saturday, and I had written my grandmother a letter. Now, mind you, like I said, I did not know that she went out of remission. I didn't know she was in the hospital, none of that. And I had written her a letter early Saturday, just telling her all these things that, you know, I wanted to say. I was sorry, you know, and, you know, all that. And I had put it in the mailbox, and I had missed the mailman on Saturday, which it wouldn't have mattered anyway because she died Sunday. It was either late, actually early Monday morning, probably like 3, 4, or 5 in the morning, something like that. It's been a long time ago, but, you know, I remember I was so upset I wasn't thinking about the letter being in that mailbox, and when I did go out to put mail in there or get mail, and there was that letter sitting there, still sitting there, you know, because mail don't run on Sundays, and, yep, I ended up putting it in her coffin with her. So anyway, that's what my mother likes to not tell me things, and so I called my mom today, and I know she was just acting, she doesn't talk at all. You know, she don't talk much when something's going on. So I knew something's going on, you know, I just don't know what. So I call her, and I'm like, I mean, I have guilt there with my mom, you know, because I feel like I could help my mother a lot more with money and things like that, you know. Have I not have to buy these, or not have to, but have I not buy drugs every day? And I just really hate myself, you know, that my mom can be without something, and, you know, if she's really seriously without something that she needs very much, you know, I will figure out how to help her. And so it's like today, you know, I said, what's wrong, mother? You know, what is wrong? Nothing's wrong, and I can hear like tears behind her eyes, you know, and I said, do you need something? I said I got my fridge card. That's what we call our food stamp card or whatever. And I'm like, I can order food from Myers for you on there, and you can do a pickup. Oh, I don't have money for gas to get there. I said, well, I'll send you some money for gas, you know. No, I don't. I'm not gonna drive over there. Okay then. I will. I said I've got $20 on a gift card that I got from scanning receipts, you know, on one of the apps, you know, scan receipts, and I finally got $20 on an Amazon card. And then I said, do you need anything for on that? You know, I'll give you the card number. You can order something if you need it. And she doesn't, no, I don't need anything, you know, and she's like getting irritated or something by me. And then she had said something about I could hear the cat in the background meowing, and I was like, what's wrong? It's your cat. And she's like, oh, she's waiting for me to get up and feed her. And we hung up. I said, well, I'm just going to hang up because you aren't talking to me anyway. And then I started thinking, well, maybe her cat needs cat food. And so I called again. I said, does your cat, you know, does Kylie need cat food or something? Because, you know, and at this point, I'm not going to say that I'm going to get it for her, because she's going to say that, you know, it's stupid, you know, I'm your daughter, I'm your family. If you need something, I should be able to help you. That's how I feel. You know, or if I can, I'm going to. And it's not, she says, oh, it's not your responsibility to take care of me. Well, yeah, it really is. That's how I feel anyway. So anyway, so I didn't say, I'll buy you cat food. I said, well, I just got a bunch of food for my cat, and I said that, there was a certain kind that she was eating, and now she doesn't like it anymore, and I don't know what to do with it, so if you need some cat food, I'll send it to you. And at that point, I don't know if she needed cat food, but, she did say, go ahead, and if you want to send it, so that's that, but, it goes into this deeper thing, with, the fact that, I need some closure with my mother, with what happened in the past when I was a kid. And I know, oh, that was when I was a kid, but no, it's this is dragged on because my mom has never given me any kind of, well, actually she did. She had started drinking a little bit, so after the stepdad died, and she's out having fun after, and drinking and stuff, and one day she did call, because I've tried to talk to her about things, and she just shuts down on me. Oh, she has to go, or she just gets real quiet. And I can tell, she does not want to hear what I have to say. And at one point I made her listen to some of it. And, the reality is, like, he molested me. I don't know for how long, honestly. They were together. They were together when I was 3, but I didn't live with them when I was 3. I lived with my grandmother. But I would still go to my mom's house, to their apartment, every day during the day. And then I would always wanted to go home to my grandmother's house, to my own bed at night. Because, before my mom got with that guy, we both lived with my grandmother. Because my mom was 19 when she had me, and she wasn't married to my father, and he died. He was killed, actually, and that's a whole other story, but I didn't know the guy. So my mom and we lived with my grandparents. So when she got with this guy, she moved in with him, and my grandmother puts it like this, she abandoned me there, but I can't say she abandoned me. I don't believe that I wanted to go with her at that point, because that was my home, my grandmother's home, my grandparents, and I didn't want to leave. But, like I said, my mom picked me up. But I don't remember him doing anything to me. When I was, before I was 10, I don't remember anything like that. Actually, I don't remember the guy at all, before he started doing that, very little, very little, but anyways, but, probably because when I was at my mom's during the day, I was outside all the time playing with other kids, and when they went on vacations and stuff like that, I wasn't allowed to go. And I do know that part of his way of that he molested me was, he was mean to me. I mean, he didn't hit me or anything like that, but he ignored me. He treated me like, he would treat me like I was stupid. Made me feel stupid. Just things like that, and the thing is, being a kid, I didn't have a dad, and I wanted this, for some reason, I wanted this guy to like me. He made me want him to like me, and, so then, I was willingly doing what this guy was trying to get me to do, or getting me to do, because he was nice to me at that point, but that's probably why I don't remember him too much, before I moved in with him, because, like I said, he didn't want much to do with me, I remember even then at some point, that him laying on the couch all the time, and that's all he did, he worked once in a while, construction work whenever he wanted to, and, just this guy, when they ran off and went to Vegas on vacation, and of course, I never went on vacation with them ever. I wasn't allowed to, and they didn't want me to. Even their family reunions that they go to, his family reunions, and all his brothers and sisters, kids, which I considered them my cousins, they all went, but I couldn't go because he didn't want to bother. I could tell, he didn't want to bother with a kid, and she couldn't handle bother. She didn't want to be bothered with me either. I wasn't the kid that she thought I was gonna be, and she once told me that she would rather have 100 dogs than another kid. And anyway, so when they went to Las Vegas on vacation, they ended up getting married down there. And so they come back, and I get to hear that they're married. And I do remember being really upset about that for whatever reason. I do know that I didn't care that much for him. That I do know. Yeah, I wonder why, right? So they ended up buying a house. Well, my grandmother ends up buying them a house. But my grandma didn't really like him either, that. But, yeah, she gets my grandma to buy them a house, and, at this point, they want me to move in. Well, I find out it's not they wanting me to move in, that he wants me to. He tells my mom that he wants, now that they are married, they have a house, wants me to move in, so they kind of bribe me into, oh, we're just right, and they were just right down the block, on another block from where my grandma lived. I could ride my bike there, walk there, whatever, every day, which I always did. But, it was also, oh, you're gonna have your own room, you can paint it whatever color you want, we're gonna get you a TV and a waterbed, and, at my grandmother's house, she had 3 bedrooms, but the house was so scary when I was a kid. I used to sleep in her bedroom on a little cot. So, I didn't have that own room thing or anything like that. So, I was 10 years old, and I did move in with them. And that's where that sexual abuse began, was then. So, being said, I remember, I figured it out. I figured it out by the time I was probably 13, that my mother knew that something was going on. And obviously, she didn't, oh, I want this happening. No, not at all. She didn't do anything about it. I think she didn't know what to do. Which, I'm not a mother, but I do know that if I had a child, I would have known what to do right away. You know what I mean? Fuck. One of the reasons I don't have a kid is because I know that I would have been looking at the father. Well, I would have been looking at everything my child did, and that's a wrong thing to do. Any little sign, I would have been thinking that something was happening, so that's not the only reason, but, ultimately that played a part too, So the thing is he died, right? So well, back up a minute here. Sorry, I'm obviously getting high. What's new? I stay high. Just right now, I'm not super high. It's not funny, but, hey. Anyway, where was I? Oh, God, I hate this. My mind I'm losing my mind. Gosh. And sometimes I won't ever recall it. We're talking about him. His name was Kim. I hated that. What's your stepdad's name? I hate stepdad. Oh, Kim. And Ken, that's a girl's name. And for some reason, I'm embarrassed, And I said, no, I said Ken. Silly, but yeah. Oh, I remember. Okay. So I think it was about 13, I believe, that I wrote a note to my mother, a letter, not a note, it was couple pages, and And in the letter, because I never spoke up and said anything to my mother, but I know that my grandmother was suspicious, and I know it was obvious. I look back at it, it's obvious, and it was obvious that she was walking out of the room when, how are you going to have a man in his underwear, tidy whities, no shirt, no nothing else, and a sheet. And, he used to lay with his legs kind of like this, and he'd have the blanket or the sheet kind of over his knees, and so it kind of made this little tent type thing. And he'd get me, we can sit in there, and I'd sit in there, and he's in his underwear, and things happened under there. Okay, I'm not going to go into detail, and I know that my mother would be sitting in the chair reading a book or something, and for some reason at that point she'd get up a lot of times and leave the living room. First of all, why are you letting your little girl under a sheet with some man in his underwear? Weird, right? I'm just like, wow, unbelievable, unfucking real. And so anyway, I knew she would. As I got older, I realized that this woman knows what the fuck's happening here, and so I write this letter, putting it in her face, basically, what's going on, what he's doing, and yada, yada, yada. And well, at that point, I commenced to taking 40,000 milligrams of this. It was an epilepsy medicine, and I was taking it because I had gotten hit in the head with a rock, and I do believe that caused seizures, so it's a seizure medication, and the seizures went away. I didn't have epilepsy, but it was an epilepsy medication, and I took 40 of the pills, and there's 1,000 milligrams, and they were really powerful pills that you had to have a blood test every month or so when you're on them. And I literally thought it was a night that they were going to be gone for a while, and I really thought that at that point that I was going to lay down and go to sleep after taking all these pills and not wake up. So that didn't happen, obviously. I woke up and oh my God, it was like I could see two of everything. One was up here, one was down here. Jumping up and moving up and down like that. I couldn't even stand up. I couldn't even get on my hands and knees and crawl. And it was like, oh, it was scary. And they came home and they took me to the hospital. And, and I look back then, that would never fly today. That if you take a 13-year-old to the hospital that just tried to kill themselves, that not a social worker, no one, counselor, no one came to me and asked me anything. Why did you do this? Well, no, actually, I remember that people looking at me like I was a pain in the ass kid. Yeah, that's how I was treated by my mother and by other people in that hospital, doctors, whatever. And the people of our neighborhood, I find out later after as an adult that one neighbor said, yeah, we all suspected. Really? And you just treated me like I was an outcast. You didn't want me to play with your kids because I was hypersexual, but you still spoke to him and acted like he was, a pillar of the community. I had a shitty time for me, it really was. And I started to believe maybe I am a bad kid, I was making little kids lay on top of each other and stuff like that, and playing with the Barbies. I was always making them do things and stuff, and people's moms, and they see me doing that, and they didn't want me playing with their kids anymore, and it was just really shitty, and so at that point then, I remember I was in the hospital for a minute, and then they took me home, and I remember laying in my bed, and I'm just puking at this point, and my mom comes in there, and I can tell she's just mad as hell that I did this, it was like that whole kind of, I don't want to deal with this type of attitude, I don't want to deal with you, you're always doing something, and I just remember looking at her, and then I was hallucinated a little bit, and she had this face of this other person I know, and I remember I'm trying to hit her, and I'm like calling her that other person's name, saying, get out of here. And she was just like, no patience for me whatsoever. And I guess a couple days later, after I got my mind back right, and and all that stuff, I remember she comes in, she had that letter in her hand, and she says, well, you two need to talk about this. She had us go sit in the dining room. She puts the letter on the table, and she leaves, and she goes out and gets in her car and goes for a really long ride somewhere. At that point, he's begging me, please don't tell her, please tell her that it's a lie. Well, you know what? I didn't have to tell her shit, because when she got back, she didn't ask. It was never mentioned again. And at that point, I know she doesn't want to know. She doesn't want to hear it. She doesn't want to talk about it. And I think it was about a year after that I just met this guy. He was moving to Texas to his sister's house. I think he was 22 years old, and I was 14. And I asked if I could go with. I had money in a bank that my grandmother had, had money in a bank account for me. So, I was a kid, I was like $300. And this was like in the 70s, maybe early 80s, maybe. I can't remember. I'd have to count back the years, So I took that money out of the bank and I bought a bus ticket with him, and I went to Texas with him. And I remember telling my mom I was going, and she didn't ask any questions, and, just bye. I could see the relief on her face, honestly, that I was going to be gone. And then she wouldn't have to worry about that anymore. It's just not that I don't think she blamed me for what he was doing, but she didn't know what to do about it. And it was just best that I was not there, and she wouldn't have to deal with that. And, that's what happened, I never moved back into her house. Never. And at that point, I had talked to my grandmother, and I finally told my grandmother what had been going on. And my grandmother, they're kind of simple people. They came from Virginia in the hills, and, they're hillbillies, and I love my grandmother and grandpa, though. They're wonderful people. And, well, my grandmother, anyway. My grandpa was a little weird. Not like that. No, abuser like that. But I told my grandmother, I said I want to come back from Texas, because we had been down there for a while, and we stayed at his sister's, and oh my God, it was horrible. They had so many cockroaches. I'd never seen so many cockroaches in my life, and they had 4 kids, and it was just, the house was horrible. And I remember at one point there was something dropping from out of the ceiling. There was a bunch of newspapers at Brown Stain, all these newspapers taped to the ceiling. Something was dropping out of those newspapers, and it was maggots, because there was some a dead rat or whatever up in that attic where it was on that paper, and it died, and then there was maggots dropping out of there. It was just like, oh God, so many cockroaches. Anyway, whew. We brought some of them back with us, some bad boys, big cockroaches. And I haven't even hit this yet. I've had so much of this crap today that it ain't really affecting me. I don't think it really affects me too much anymore. I do it too much. So it amazes me that I have money in the morning. I'll have some money in the morning, right? And I think, well, this is it. This is all the money I'm going to have. This is all I'm going to have for the whole day. Because I don't know how I'm going to have any more money for the rest of the day. But it's weird. Somehow, it may not be money, but somehow I manage to have this shit all fucking day. I'm up into 4 in the morning. But I don't smoke fast unless I have a friend come over and smoke with me. But I'm not doing any kind of sexual shit for this crap. I have other ways. Not out stealing. I used to do that, but I'm too. I have too much social anxiety I don't leave my house very often anymore. I used to be so social, But anyway, back to what I was talking about. The whole deal with getting closure from my mother. And the letter was kind of significant. God, I talk so much, I'm sure that whoever watches these videos, you guys probably are going to get bored halfway through. And like, God, this girl just talks too much, get to the point, I could ramble on and on and on and on. You know, never repeat myself. That's freaking one talent. Well, I have a few talents, but, you know, that's one I was just like, blah, blah, blah. I can continuously talk and talk and talk. You know, I hope it's at least interesting. I know people say that it is, but sometimes I feel sorry for them when I hear, especially if I'm high, you know, because that is the one thing it does. It makes me talk more. And I'm like, they say, no, I love to hear your stories, and if you didn't talk, then, you know, I don't like to talk, and, you know, that would be boring, you know, for me, you know. It's like, so people that just sit there stuck, it's like, what the fuck. So yeah, I do feel bad though for people that have to sit and listen to me. Well, they don't have to, they can get the fuck out of my house, but anyway, see what I mean? I'm off the subject. I told my mother that, well, see, one day, you know, because I threw it into her face, I finally, you know, I'm going to tell this woman, you know, and put it at, you know, not, like I said, she already knows, but I've never brought that out. I never could do it. And I was like, just tired of it, you know. And then I said it, and she listened that first time. It was really hard for me because I know she doesn't want to hear this, but she listened. And I think it was that night that she called me, and she had been drinking. She was crying, and she said, I'm sorry that I was such a bad mother. Would it have been better for you if I would have put you up for adoption? And I'm like, God, I didn't know, you know, no matter what, Mom, you're my mom, and I wouldn't want any other mom. Not a rich mom, not a famous mom. I don't care. I wouldn't go through it all again if, you know, to have you be my mom. And then she said, before that, at one point she said that she goes, on some level, Shin and I always knew what was going on. Okay? You know, now that really floored me. Not that she knew, but that she was actually telling me that she knew. And instead of being mad about that, you know, I really felt that was I had a lot of courage for her to say that to me. And at that point, I had closure. I had a lot of closure with that, and I was very happy with that at that time, you know. And so it was way down the road after that happened. We were talking, and I had brought this stuff up again because this stuff, it bothers me, and there's things I really need to say to her, and I need her to listen. She owes me that much, you know. So anyway, and I said, well, you know, when you told me, I was saying, you know, when you told me that you had known, she said to me, I never said that. And obviously she was drunk, buzzed, and she did not remember saying any of that to me. She goes, and then she lies to me. She says, I never knew that was going on when you lived there. She said, I didn't know it. I said, well, when did you know? She said, I didn't know anything until, and this really pissed me off. She said, not until he was on his deathbed and he was dying, and he said to me, tell Shannon I'm sorry. Okay, now she never told me this. You know, that would have been huge for me, because here I'm going on in my life thinking that this man didn't think that he did anything wrong, because, you know, even as an adult, I couldn't even go visit my mother without, she would leave a room and he would try to pull his thing out in front of me, or he would like talk about something that happened that he did to me when I was a kid, like it was some fond memory that we had. And so I felt like either I know, you know, in my head I know I didn't do anything wrong, but you know what I mean. But anyway, by him saying that would have been huge for me. You know, fuck him, but the fact that it would have helped me. But, you know, him not being able to say something like that to me until he's ready to fucking die really fucking shows what a piece of shit he was. But at least I would have known that this wasn't something that I brought on or something like, it would just helped me a lot. And yeah, she chose not to tell me that. And wow, and then on top of it, you're telling me that you don't remember. And then she says to me, well, you weren't afraid of him. You always wanted to be around him. Yeah, of course I wasn't afraid of him, And he was being nice to me when he did that. He wasn't forcing me. He wasn't beating me, making me do it, really. I did it. He would call me in there. I'm 10 years old, And I'm like, are you trying to say that it was... Oh, no, that was a different day, so sorry. So anyway, she said that, I wasn't afraid of him, yada, yada, yada. So she didn't know anything was going on. Bullshit. I call bullshit on that. So there I am. There we are with this. This is where we're at right now. Her and I. And anytime I try to talk to her about it, I can tell she shuts down. I don't want to hear this. Please don't talk to me about this, please. Is what I'm feeling out of her. Or she'll have to get off the phone for some reason. She'll shut me down. And it was like maybe a month ago or something, I was like, and then I feel bad when I do things like this. I said to her, Mom, you can't die on me without letting me get closure with this. And then I felt so shitty. I just hung up the phone. I didn't see. She got quiet. I hung up. And she never said anything else about it. It's like, God, how selfish, right? I need for you to listen to me. I need you to do that. I need you to talk to me a little bit about this. I don't care how hard it is for you to do that for me. Because do you know how hard it was for me at 10 years old to do the things that I did with him? Or that he let him do what he did to me? Till I was 14 and finally just fucking left and moved to Waco, Texas in a cockroach-infested fucking... Ugh. Yeah, I don't care if it's hard for you. I really don't. I need you to fucking listen to me and talk to me about this. Yeah, but anyway, that's where I'm at, because that's just how I felt tonight. I was just thinking about that shit again, and her. I'm gonna try to do this real quick. I'm sorry. Did I already do it? I don't remember, because it tastes like shit now. Yuck. But yeah, that's what I wanted to rant about. God, there's so much shit that I like to talk about, and I don't really have too many people that I can talk about. Like, people that come over here, they're just interested in talking about drugs, or they're not smart enough to, honestly, to understand what I'm saying. Because I sit in here, not that I'm Einstein or anything, but I sit here, and, like, my mind is constantly going about just all this shit about, these theories that I come up with, or these ideas that I come up with, everything from, what stock is gonna, rise up to, like, Netflix status or something, or Microsoft, to, this fostering family idea that I had, or theories about why men have sex with lots of women, they want to just, or why men cheat, or, why most serial killers and, are men, and all that stuff, or why there's more kids today that are violently killing their families, and, why people are sicker today than they used to be, and why we're all more miserable the more technology and information we have. I have all these really, like, I don't know if they're crazy theories. I don't think they're crazy at all. I think they're, like, pretty spot on if you really want to know. Maybe some people, well, they don't want to agree, or they think that, or they don't even want to listen, I think it's pretty interesting. You know, I just, and I mean, I get so into my thoughts like that. I write it down and I put it in. I love to take classes and stuff, you know. I've taken so many different, you know, I left that house at 14 years old, and I think I did 2 weeks of ninth grade. And I didn't go back to school at all, you know, but, you know, the things that I went through in my life, you know, I went through like so many different things, like good and bad. Like, sometimes I would think that people, if I don't know them well, I just meet them, you know, if I'm talking to tell them stories about things that I've done in my life or things that have happened in my life, it's like I hear myself talking and it's like, it just sounds like so much bullshit. Like, how could so many different things happen to one person, you know, good things, bad things, just off the wall things, and, you know, but, you know, I don't embellish, I don't make things seem bigger or worse or better than what they were. I tell them the way I remember it, and, you know, I don't lie about anything, you know. I'm gonna say I don't lie about anything, but I don't lie about things like that happened to me in my life, you know. And, you know, everything from going, you know, the experience of things that I learned when I was sometimes on the street, but I wasn't on the street a lot, you know, but when I went to Texas, we did, the sister that we stayed with, that guy's sister, she didn't want us there anymore after a little while, and she kicked us out of there, and I'm 14 years old, you know, just, so we didn't have anywhere to live for a minute, and then, he got a job, or he had a job, and we ended up getting this little shack, and it was like some little flop house, and they had a bunch of those where people that were guys or whatever that worked in the coal mine or the oil rig or wherever, you know, and they would stay in these, some of them, there was a whole row of them. There's a couple that didn't have floors, it was dirt floors, and yeah, it was just, it's $140 a month, and this was a long time ago, and, yeah, it was kind of shitty, and we didn't have much money, and I remember I was malnutrition really bad, you know, my hair was falling out and stuff like that, and I think my teeth were even loose, and, you know, just went through a lot of different things. Without that, there's way more to that story too, but just craziness, and, I think a lot of that, you know, more than anything, because I didn't go back and take any kind of classes to take my GED. I just went in and took it because I was already, I think it was 27 when I took my GED, because I had seen a job working in a daycare, and I wanted it, and you had to have a high school GED or high school diploma to work there. And at that point, I just went and took my GED, and all but math, I still passed the math, but I got above 12th grade level in every subject except for math. I got like an 8th grade level of math, but you know, I got better at math. I actually became a math tutor when I started going to college, because, you know, it kind of bothers me. I bothers me when I can't master something somewhat, you know. And if I can't, a lot of times, you know, if I can't get it, I'll go on to something else. But I wanted to, and also I had a professor that gave me an aha moment, you know, in an algebra class, you know, because it was like a foreign language, you know, really it is. And I had this professor, Father Noel, and that was at Holy Cross College, which is, there's Notre Dame, St. Mary's, and Holy Cross. Holy Cross is a 2-year school, and that's, if you've ever seen the movie Rudy, that's where he started out, because I couldn't just get into St. Mary's or Notre Dame with a GED, you know, I had to, so I was at Holy Cross, their junior college, and I ended up being valedictorian when we graduated. I had was a 3.98 GPA when I graduated, top 10% of my class, and I could have went to Notre Dame or St. Mary's, and I was kind of boy crazy back then, and thought that if I went to Notre Dame, there's too many guys over there, and I just wanted to focus on my college work, so I went to St. Mary's, the all-female school there, and I'm glad I did. So, and anyway, I forget where I'm going with all that. So I am going to stop for now, and I actually, it's 4 in the morning, 5 in the morning, I don't even know. This is the 3rd day in a row that I haven't got much sleep at all. But I'm gonna stop because I've been talking for 45 minutes, and I'm gonna give y'all a break. I know you can just turn me off, but still, I'm gonna give myself a break. I might come back and do another one later. Oh, and I did go on, I didn't read any, I didn't personally read any of the, messages that people sent, texts that people sent, but I had a friend read them and tell me which ones that, I had him read me the ones that weren't negative. So, he didn't tell me if there were any negative ones, but I told him I didn't want to hear that, because, you know, then it might stop me from coming on here. And I kind of like coming on here, so. But he did read me the ones that weren't negative, and we didn't get through all of them. But I tried to answer, you know. I think it was the first 3 so far that I've 3 or 4 videos that I had him read me. And, the one, there was the one that had the most comments, I did just a big group answer, you know, and it was kind of long, obviously, like, I can type out just like I talk and just keep on and on. So anyway, I did try to answer people, because I do appreciate the good and nice comments that everybody sent me. You know, I just wanted to explain something too, you know. So anyway, I might be back. Bye.